Welcome back at 7:30. I'm Josh Robertson. Let's get back over to meteorologist Hannah Gard with a look at your Weather Authority forecast on this Father's Day.
Thanks, Josh. We're looking at some shower activity right now this morning on Viper radar. Very small pockets of rain. We are seeing some heavier rain, though. We've seen red, which means downpours, but they're quick. What I'm watching for offshore, though, is we are seeing some storms that are going to try to head inland. I don't think that a lot of this tropical moisture will get very far north because, again, it's tropical in nature. The dew points are higher on the south shore. So the best chance to see those heavier downpours is going to be farther south of I-10. But I do think that we could see a storm or two, especially by the afternoon when we get some daytime heating, because there's plenty of pockets of sunshine between where this rainfall is. So right now, seeing some rain by Des Allemands. This is going to move into the river parishes. We did have a shower there near Madisonville, now moving off to the northwest, and that's about it that we're seeing inland with those heavier pockets of rainfall. This is all spawning from some tropical moisture that's down to the south of us. It's been pooling around the Yucatan Peninsula. Now we have an X mark there from the National Hurricane Center. That's the area they're watching for low pressure development that's going to move off to the west into the Bay of Campeche, and that's going to be over warm waters. So very conducive development chances there in the way of warm water, but there is a little bit of wind shear it's going to be dealing with. So medium chance of developing over the next 7 days, now has a low chance over the next 2 days. So we are starting to note that it could form here pretty soon. Low chance of development for an area of low pressure heading toward the Bahamas. This is also something we'll talk about because if that heads over the Florida Peninsula, we could see some impacts at the end of the week. But here's the thunderstorm activity near the Yucatan. It's not quite a defined low pressure center yet, but that's going to move off westward and we could see that low try to form. But we are seeing unsettled weather farther up to the north because this is a big area of low pressure. You're kind of seeing this counterclockwise spin. It's a broad cutoff upper level low. That's why we have these orange colors so far down to the south, that drier air in the upper levels. And we're starting to get the storms popping up from that low pressure axis that's across the Gulf. And like I mentioned, the water's very, very warm, especially in the Bay of Campeche. We could see that be a pretty conducive environment for a tropical depression to try to form. But the moisture is very far removed from where that would be. That's far down to the south of us, but we're still getting some of the tropical moisture from this. So here's those storms that are offshore. Notice as they try to move inland, they're largely unsuccessful, but we could see a storm or two pop up in the afternoon, as I mentioned, with the daytime heating. Tomorrow is when I'm most convinced we could see a flooding problem. This model has been very consistent in some training storms coming up from the coast and making it pretty far northward. That would be a problem for us. Flooding wise, we'll get some really high rain rates, so 2 to 4 inches an hour. That will be cause for flooding concerns. And then you see the system trying to come together here near the coast of Texas and Mexico. We're kind of on the edge of it by Tuesday. Still could see some shower and storm activity, but if that's over to the west, it's not going to be widespread for us by Tuesday and Wednesday. So the flood threat today, slight risk for the south shore and just north of the lake. Then that expands for Monday. Again, I think the training storm is going to be most likely on Monday, and then it pushes off westward. We're only in that level 1 out of 4 Tuesday. Could still see maybe a shower or downpour, but most of the storms are going to be over to our west. So watching for that rain potential totals wise. We're looking at very high rain totals for the southern coastal areas, especially if we see those training storms. But look how bad it is over here to the southwest. So we might miss the worst of it, but we could see 4 to 6 inches south of I-10 with upwards of 10 inches in some areas, and then widespread 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. And if that's mostly tomorrow, that's going to be cause for flooding concerns. The other area that we're watching, this is a broad area of low pressure right now, but the moisture is going to steer around this high pressure that's also funneling the tropical moisture up to us right now. That's going to move that low over across Florida. The placement on this still uncertain. This is the modeling right now. We could see it move over the peninsula. That'll be something to watch. And then we have another bout of tropical moisture coming up next weekend after that. So a lot to watch this time of year. That is our typical development area is closer to home. I do taper off the rain chances though after we get to next weekend. I think we might see a little bit of a drying out, but we have a lot to watch. Sunshine right now, temperatures are sitting in the 80s and some 70s still, but it's going to be a lot cooler today. I think we top out maybe in the low 90s because we still have some sun between the clouds, but the next couple of days with the heavier rainfall will stay in the mid to upper 80s.
And 90 is going to feel a lot. I mean, it's only 7 degrees or so, but it's got to feel a lot better than it did yesterday.
No, it'll feel much better because it was still pretty humid yesterday too, so the feels like temperatures were really high, and with that higher temperature near records, it's going to feel better today.
Gotcha. All right, thank you very much there, Hannah.